Up next, please welcome Holger Kormann, President and CEO, Symcor.
Good morning, everyone. Also from my side, welcome to the 2026. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I switched it off. Hello?
Good morning, is this Holger Kormann speaking?
Yes, it is.
How are you today, Mr. Kormann? My name is Colleen, calling from your bank's fraud team. I'm calling about a suspicious activity flagged on your account. We're seeing an e-transfer attempt for $1,842.37 to an unrecognized account. I just need to confirm whether that was you before we lock the account.
It's never a round number, is it?
I'd like to get ahead of this before our system auto-locks your accounts in just a few minutes.
Okay, hold on. Now you have me really concerned. Is there anything we can do?
I've sent a one-time verification code to your phone. Can you please read it back to me?
You mean that message was sent, we will never ask you for your code?
Sir, rest assured this is a secure line.
I should mention I'm about to speak at a summit about fraud, so it's not a good time.
Should I call you back?
Please don't. Thank you so much. All right, well, anyone ever gotten a call like that? The more interesting question is, who pulled out their phone thinking that's your ringtone? Now, where was I? Yes, fraud has changed. Fraud used to be done in person, with nerves and a little sweat. It also used to require some equipment, a stolen ID, a template, maybe a laminator if you're really fancy. Now, fraudsters generate and syndicate an identity in under 30 seconds, less time it takes than some of us to remember the banking password. Today's fraudsters test your entire authentication stack 10,000 times a minute. Why walk the streets and pickpocket wallets when you can do it all from the comfort of your basement couch? That's why we're here today, as both competitors and collaborators. In the last year, we have seen so much progress on innovation. With the advancement of real-time rails and open banking, we have moved closer to a simpler, smarter future for Canadians. But as much as we have been working hard, so too have those who would seek to undermine that future. Fraud has grown faster than our systems, evolved faster than our policies, and faster than our collective defenses. And so today, I want to talk to you about I want to talk to you about what we not just can do, but we must do to outsmart those who would take advantage of our new systems for their own benefit and to the disadvantage of Canadians. If you have been in financial services long enough, you will remember what fraud used to look like. It was an individual actor, as I described, with small-scale schemes. I mean, really? Donald Duck? I mean, they weren't always that obvious, but pretty close to it. Digitization has changed all that. As payments moved online, and then to mobile, the speed and scale of transactions created new surfaces for attack. More channels, more anonymity, more automation, increasingly more organized criminal networks. The faster money moves, the faster fraud happens. And then the tipping point. With artificial intelligence, it's no longer individual, it's industrialized. Fraud rings working and operating like fraud factories. They're working 24/7, using AI for automated account testing, impersonation fraud using deepfake, generating synthetic identities at scale. Last year, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre received more than 112,000 reports of fraud involving more than $704 million in reported losses, increasing by 10% from the year before. And just for your information, Shahid and Michael, if you use that information, just send me a note next time so we can save the audience about a minute in the name of digital efficiency. Thousands of Canadians every year losing their money to fraudsters. And those are only the ones that were reported. In the background, fraudsters are innovating collaboratively. These criminals are sharing tools and strategies and data across borders, while institutions are defending themselves in isolation. And the gap between the two is widening. The result is that fraud in Canada hasn't just increased, it has outright exploded. And it is an ecosystem problem. It's not an institutional problem. It is an existential risk to the core survival of our systems. AI-enabled criminals operate with speed, coordination, and sophistication unmatched by traditional siloed defense models. No single bank, credit union, credit card provider, payment provider will be able to fight it alone, much less overcome it alone. So here's what I propose to you. As criminals collaborate, so must we. This is a simple truth. Fraud is not a competitive space, and there's no room for any organization in the financial ecosystem to claim a competitive edge when it comes to fraud. This is because no institution, no bank, no fintech, no payment service provider or retailer sees the full pattern of criminal behavior. Each just sees a sliver or a slice, a single account, a transaction type, or a moment in time. But fraud rings, they operate across institutions, channels, and identities. The only way to defend effectively is to develop a shared brain, a collective intelligence model that can identify and analyze and ultimately prevent fraudulent activity. This is where AI becomes exponentially more powerful. If we train it together on our shared cross-institutional intelligence, imagine how powerful it becomes. For years, Symcor has worked largely invisible within Canada's financial services ecosystem as a digital connector, an enabler making interactions smart, fast, and safe. Now, as payments move in real time, we must make them even faster and smarter. That's why we created a consortium in 2018, allowing banks to share, allowing banks to send signals and see beyond their walls. We started, not surprisingly, with checks. Banks recognize something important. Checks issued by one bank are very often deposited at another. I know that's a bit shocking, but it means no single institution ever sees the full pattern on its own. Using our consortium model, we build check fraud solutions that allow banks to detect patterns of suspicious activity emerging across institutions, not just within one. Over time, we expanded that capability by developing and refining AI-driven fraud models, including advanced counterfeit detection. These models analyze check images, the identity signs, the tampering, the counterfeiting. When they do, we alert the banks in near real time. It's through this shared intelligence that we are able to access cross-bank fraud signals, surface emerging threats earlier, adapt fraud protection, and reduce false positives with much better context. This is how Symcor helps ensure Canada has more than modern rails, that it has a risk-resilient payment system. We are not the solution, but we are a big part and enabler of a collective solution, one that works for all of us and for all Canadians. What an exciting time, though, in Canada's payments landscape. Open banking legislation is finally in place. We're implementing and going live with real-time rails. As open banking advances, data sharing will increase. This creates new benefits, like faster, more accurate lending decisions, and better customer experience and personalization. But, as I've suggested, it also exposes us to fraud in new places. Meanwhile, real-time rails will bring enormous convenience and efficiency. But real-time payments also remove something fraud teams used to rely on: the time between a payment and processing to trace and stop bad actors. That buffer is gone. Today, the only meaningful place to stop fraud is before the payment happens, before the money moves. That moment is identity. The only way, once identity is accepted, everything that follows is trusted by default. And once money moves, it's gone, no second chance. We see this every day. A compromised mobile device leads to an instant account takeover and a payment that can't be reversed. Synthetic identities powered by AI pass traditional document checks with ease. And 9 million Canadians are still giving their banking passwords to apps. It's like handing your house key over to a stranger. When identity is verified directly through secure open banking APIs, everything changes. Trust is no longer assumed, it's established. That's why today we say that identity is the new safety parameter. It is the last and best moment in time to stop fraud before the money moves. But we shouldn't wait until the last possible time and moment to fight fraud. To succeed in this new world, we must be proactive. Fraud resilience must be built into our systems, not after, but right at launch. For us to succeed then, we must all align on 4 elements: shared fraud signals, shared detection frameworks, shared escalation models, and shared intelligence governance. That may sound like a checklist, but it's intentional, because in payments, the things that keep us really safe are rarely flashy. And when we work on them all together and commit, they really make an impact. Let's start with the first: shared fraud signals. In Australia, the banking sector Scam Safe Accord, which launched in 2023 and now operated alongside the Scams Prevention Framework, is having a real impact. The key element in that accord is a confirmation of payee, a service which allows payment providers to confirm that the intended payee matches the destination account, that it doesn't present a fraud risk before the funds are sent. Australia launched it in July 2025. Since then, it's been used more than 100 million times. The designer of the service described the confirmation of payee as just enough friction to prompt people to pause and to reflect before money is sent. That small pause, adapted nationally, is what protecting Australians from sending their money to fraudsters. The second element is shared detection frameworks. This is where the European Union is making real strides. Today, all payment providers within the Union must use strong customer authentication, SCA, which is mandated as part of the Payment Service Directive 2 or PSD2. Lots of acronyms in the EU, maybe not surprising. After all, it was Germany, my home country, which mastered words containing more than 30 letters, like Geschwindigkeitsbegrenzung, which means speed limit, which is obviously something likes in Germany. But SCA requires 2 factors of identification for electronic transactions, such as online card payments. Again, the factors themselves are not onerous, but they introduce just enough friction to detect and prevent fraud at scale. In fact, card payments fraud was used 17 times higher in areas where SCA was applied and was not legally required, as a noticeable difference in the fraud pattern. Shared frameworks harmonize rules across ecosystems. They standardize interventions and enable governance, accountability, and create consistency across borders. It's an ongoing collective effort to protect consumers, but one that delivers measurable results. The third element is shared escalation models, the ability to communicate fraud risk across multiple institutions. In the United Kingdom, the contingent reimbursement model for authorized push payments gives banks common escalation and liability models for authorized push payments fraud. At least a dozen banks, including Barclays, HSBC, Santander, have signed up to it. They share standard timeframes, consumer protections, and consistent cross-bank follow-up. As a result, authorized push payments fraud can be identified faster, and funds can be frozen across the bank. This only works because banks work together. Fraud doesn't respect institutional boundaries, and neither should we in our response. Finally, shared intelligence models. Here in Canada, we have our very own example. It is the Anti-Scam Coalition. It brings together financial institutions, telecommunications providers, tech companies, law enforcement, and the federal government to combat a growing threat of scams targeting Canadians. Symcor is a member, and like our partners, we are committed to this fight. The coalition is still evolving, but the need for it is unfortunately well established. We cannot think of fraud resistance as an add-on. When fraud prevention is built in, the results follow. Building a new payment system without making it secure is like building a world-class airport and not thinking about security. It might move people faster, but you don't keep the trust for very long. So Canada's at a crossroads, which means we have two options. We can choose to react to fraud, institution by institution, incident by incident, or we can build a collective intelligence model that protects the entire ecosystem and stops fraud before it happens. I believe the choice is clear. It's not about competitive advantage. It's about trust, that Canadians trust our payment system, and that trust in our innovation, and that trust in each other. And they all can we agree on three things. Move fast because fraudsters are. We also need to agree on modernization collectively because none of us can solve it alone. And third, build trust through safety, not just speed. If he gets this right, Canada will have not only modern payments, it will have a risk-resilient payments and open finance. And that will be our key to success. Thank you so much.